The next thing that you need to imagine is, if you could spend one day in the greatest library studying anything, hmm? If you could spend one day in the greatest library studying anything, what would that thing be?
Sir,
Yes, Sam?
yeah, are we assuming that we will be completing the whole thing in one day?
No, 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 no.
Okay,
You
just
want
a
to
part.
study something, you have one day and you have this full big library. Whatever you want to study, you can study, and you are there for one day. You are there. You cannot do anything else. You have to just be in that library. What would you study?
Okay, even if it means leaving whatever we start in the middle.
Yeah, because ekdam mein khatam nahi hoga, but what is it that you will choose to study?
Okay.
The next thing that you do is you list down 10 things, at least 10 things that you love to do. Okay? 10 things that you love to do. Could be anything: dance, uh, playing tennis, doing something for the environment, eating good food, talking to friends, playing basketball, cleaning the car engine, cleaning your Almira, cleaning maths, solving theorems. You could think of cooking, you could think of decorating your house, you could think of so many things that you love to do. You don't need to list down things I love to do. These are just examples, and they're not even my list. Yes, Shubha. Even those things that you've not done but you want to do. No, Manali, you have to think of 10, at least 10. That is the exercise. I want you to go within and identify at least 10 things that you love to do. That's so important. Each one of us should have at least 10 such things now. Think about it. Cooking food, cooking something special. You could be more specific, not just that generic. Reading some particular genre of books, reading some particular author. So you can make it more specific, but have at least 10 things on that list. 10 is the minimum. Okay. Now, while we just now listed 10 things that we would love to do or that we love to do, now I want you to list down things that you are good at. Okay. This list can be much longer than 10, by the way. Hmm? You may think that helping others is a strength. You may think that math is your strength. You may think that synthesizing information and presenting it in a very meaningful way so that many people understand it could be your strength. You may love dancing and you may be good at dancing, generating ideas, strategizing, sensing needs, singing, playing pranks, adding humor to a situation. Whatever your strengths are, whatever you are good at, just list them down. As many of them as you can think of, thinking about putting the most important strengths first, or most importantly, the strongest strengths first, and just list those strengths. Once you've listed quite a few of them, so now close your eyes and think of something that represents you. It could be a flower, an animal, a bird, a butterfly, an insect, a plant, anything. Anything in nature that kind of represents you. Some which animal, if you're identifying an animal, which flower if you're identifying a flower, which bird if you're identifying a bird. Just close your eyes and think about which animal or a bird kind of represents you. And then spend a minute to write down why and how does this being, this life represent you? Why do you say you're like a butterfly? Why do you say you're like a hummingbird? Why do you say you're like a dog or whatever? Again, it's private. You can write anything. You can even write a pig. So once you've done this, then you think about a situation or a time when you felt deeply inspired. Hmm? And describe that time. What had happened? What inspired you? What words? What incident? Why were you inspired? How were you inspired? What did you do when you were inspired? Just write for about a minute in your notebook on that time, of that time when you felt deeply inspired. आप किसी से मिले, किसी ने आपसे कुछ कहा, anything, could something that really, really inspired you. You saw someone doing something which you had not imagined he or she could do, and that inspired you. यार ये कर सकता है तो मैं तो कर ही सकता हूँ. Whatever it was, just reflect, close your eyes, reflect, and bring that thing on that piece of paper that you have in front of you. Now, think about some person, one or two people. Start with one person who has made a very positive difference in your life. What are this person's qualities that you cherish and value? Okay. So first, put the name of the person and then list a few qualities of why you value and cherish this person. So do it for one person. After you've done this for one person, the person who has really had the biggest and the most positive influence on you, you can put a +2 in the chat window. And after putting a +2, you can continue to think of other influencers that you have in life who and their qualities that you really cherish. Yes, it can be a family member, anyone who has had a really very positive influence on you, and the qualities due to which this person could have that influence on you. The qualities that you cherish, that you would probably want to imbibe within yourself. If you were to spend 1 hour with a person who has ever lived, okay, 1 hour with a person who has ever lived, who would that person be? Why? And then what would you ask this person? One person who ever lived, if you have an opportunity to spend 1 hour with them, it could be anyone. What would you ask him or her? So once you've done that, now we look at the contribution that you make to the world. Let us say that 5 years from today, a newspaper wants to write about you, about something you've done or are doing. And 3 people close to you will be interviewed. Who are those 3 people? And what would these 3 people say about you? Okay. So 5 years from now, a newspaper wants to do a story on you, and they will interview 3 people who are either beneficiaries of it or your partners in it, whatever. So who are these 3 people who you want to do something for or with, and what would they say about you? So now we are entering into this phase of writing your mission statement. Okay. And what we will do is I will start a video. You be with that video. As the video will end, you start to write. You start to write what you want to do with this life that we have. And just write. It may happen that words do not come. So keep the pen moving. Do not leave the pen. Do not drop the pen. अगर आना बंद हो गया तो भी पेन को घुमाते रहो, चलाते रहो, अपने आप थोड़ी देर में न्यू थॉट्स वुड कम, यू राइट देम. Do not need to refine anything too much yet. This process is just about bringing out whatever thoughts you are coming about, what you want to do in this life, for yourself, for others, for people around you, for the society, anything, any thoughts that come to you, just write them. We will, so after the video we will have about 3 to 4 minutes in which we will do this writing, and then we will move to the next step as to how to now make this mission statement a reality for us. So I will start with the video, be with the video. As the video ends, you start to write, and then I will play some music. You just be with that. That music is just to support you to be in that mode, and you just continue to write. Okay. So please start to write and continue to write for at least till I'm playing this music. Great. So now that most of us are done with writing something, however difficult or easy it might have been, now we need to move into the next phase of making this vision or this mission statement a reality for us. So for that, we actually need to enter into habit 3. And I will just give you a quick glimpse of how to plan and get these things going. The most important concept that habit 3 talks about is this time quadrant matrix. This is a matrix on two axes, an axis of importance and an axis of urgency. The quadrant one, this one, is about things which are important, but and also urgent. For example, crisis, pressing problems, deadline driven projects, meeting reports, and so on. Meetings, reports, so on. The second quadrant, or this quadrant, is about things which are urgent but may not be important. Example, unnecessary or needless interruptions. You're on this workshop and a phone rings. That's an interruption. And okay, when the phone rings, we may not immediately know if it is needless or not, but we can quickly pick it up and ask, is it something urgent or important? I'm into something. Okay, so we have to say no to such things which are not important but are urgent. Unnecessary reports, unimportant meetings, other people's minor issues. The not important, not urgent quadrant includes trivia, busy work, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of that. They take time, may not be very interesting. So excess of anything, whether it is TV, relaxation also. Excess of relaxation is also a time waster. This fourth, important but not urgent things are like preparation, prevention, planning, relationship building, recreation, values clarification, and so on. So today, when we spend these 2 hours over here, we spend time in this quadrant. So the first quadrant that we looked at is called the quadrant of necessity, which we need to manage. These are things which are important, but are also urgent. We have to somehow manage them. The next quadrant that we had looked at is the quadrant of deception. These things appear as important because they are urgent. For example, phone call आया, आपके spouse का था, तो अब देखते ही, अरे, it would also be important. It could be important, but you do not know for sure. Pick up the phone, check. एक दोस्त आया, चल यार चाय पीने चलते हैं. Now you might be working on something which is more important, and that interruption could be a deception. You might think, चलो दोस्त आया की जगह बॉस आया, बॉस ने कहा चल यार चाय पीने चलते हैं. Many times one may think important बात होगी, बॉस चाय पे बुला रहा है, बट वहां गए पूरा 1 घंटा वेस्ट भी करा और पता लगा कोई important बात नहीं थी. This happened with some of us sometime. So this is a
अनुज,
जी भैया.
अनुज, वो जो एक चाय का प्याला है या कॉफी का एक आउटिंग है which your friend or your boss comes by and says चलो चलते हैं, that could be part of relationship building also, which is enjoyable.
Yeah. Then that comes important too. Then that comes in that other quadrant that we looked at, where we put in the relationship building thing. Many
No, so
times,
it again probably depends on the.
yes,
It is again situational. I mean,
it is situational.
you are doing
Very
something,
true.
but
Yes.
that relationship building is also important. Yeah.
Yeah. See, that is why this is called as a quadrant of deception. Things in this quadrant may not be important, but will deceive you with something else, which could be in the top row, which are important. Okay, so we have to be very discerning and decide a yes or a no based on what we are working on. Okay. This quadrant is the quadrant of excess and waste. We need to limit this. Now again, relaxation बहुत important है, but excess is something that we need to limit. Okay. This quadrant, the last one that we just colored, is the quadrant of effectiveness, and this is where we focus on. The more we focus on this, we will see that other quadrants automatically start to reduce. Even the quadrant 1, which was the quadrant of necessity, where we had urgent and important things, crisis coming up, even they will reduce because we are better prepared. We have a preventive thing in place. So a crisis, the number of crises will reduce. So the time that you spend in quadrant 1 will also reduce. But for this, we have to be disciplined to spend time in quadrant 2. We need to plan to spend time in quadrant 2, the quadrant of effectiveness there. Okay. And come whatever may, our focus should be to spend the time above this arrow in the important quadrants. Okay. So to do this, the first thing that we need to do is, जो भी आपने goals लिखे ना, for every role we identified some goals that we had. अभी आपने एक life mission statement लिखी, you will see that those goals will also somewhere fit into your life mission statement. So for identify these such goals, one goal for every role. Okay, one goal for every role that is important for you, that you would want to do in that particular week. Those are your big rocks. And these goals have to be for self also. For example, if your life mission statement says that I want to complete this part of my education or qualification or something, then you have to plan that also. List down these things and then start to plan them on a regular basis. Now, what that regular basis is, I think it's best if we hear it from Stephen.
You're looking at this scene through what photographers call a wide-angle lens. They use this kind of lens to capture the big picture. Now you are looking through a telephoto lens, which is used to bring objects very close. Now you see me through a standard lens that gives you a normal human perspective. Most people live as if they were looking at life through a telephoto lens. They live hour to hour, day to day, looking at their lives through the lens of what's immediately in front of them and what's most pressing and urgent right now. Imagine walking down a street while looking through a telephoto lens. We would focus only on the immediate threat or the passing impulse. We would live from crisis to crisis, dealing only with urgent things, mistaking them for the important things. The telephoto lens perspective would not allow us to focus on what's truly important, on the big picture of our lives. The big picture is what's ultimately important to us, our life mission, our organizational vision, our long-term Quadrant 2 priorities. But we can't focus all the time on the big picture either. If we don't translate our vision into action, we lose touch with reality. We become dreamers and end up neglecting the very details that enable our vision to come true. So how do we stay focused day to day without losing sight of the big picture? The week is the normal lens that gives the most manageable perspective. You see, the week represents a complete patch in the fabric of life. There are work days, evenings, the weekend. It's close enough to be highly relevant, but distant enough to provide context and perspective. I mean, what you can't do in one day, you might be able to do in another. And over the course of a week, you can balance your life. If you were to ask me, what single practice would do more to balance your life and increase your productivity than any other, it would be this. Plan your week, each week, before the week begins. Take 20 or 30 minutes alone in a quiet place to go through these 3 steps. First, write down the important roles you play in your life. Roles represent your key relationships, your areas of responsibility. You may have the roles of being a manager of new products, a friend, a community volunteer, a family member. And don't forget yourself. You have an obligation to take care of yourself, to sharpen your own saw. Organizing your life around the many roles you play will help you maintain balance and focus on your key relationships, rather than focusing on tasks and things. Second, choose the big rocks. These are weekly Quadrant 2 goals for each of your roles. Look back at the big picture, your mission statement, and your long-range goals, and select those big rocks that will have the greatest impact on your mission and goals. And for each role, ask yourself the big rock question. What is the most important thing I could do in this role this week that would make the most positive difference? For instance, it might be to complete the budget this week. It might be to help a child resolve a problem. or to attend a conference where you will learn new ideas you need for your job. You see, these big rocks will almost always be Quadrant 2 activities. In essence, you're creating your Quadrant 2 plan for the week so that your highest priorities don't get pushed aside by the urgent. Finally, schedule the big rocks. Block out time now in your calendar for those big rocks before the week fills up with other activities. Then schedule your other activities around the big rocks. I once asked the managers of a struggling shopping center the big rock question. What one thing could you do that you absolutely know would have a significant positive impact on your business? Their answer was unanimous and immediate. Improve their deteriorating relationships with their tenants. They were the store owners in the shopping center. Then I asked them how much time they spent doing those kinds of things. It was less than 5%. Oh, they had all kinds of reasons. They had meetings to go to, reports to make out, email to answer. So you know what they did? They set up a goal to spend 1/3 of each week activity helping store owners with their problems. After about a year and a half, the effect was dramatic and profound. The numbers went up, and they had a waiting list for new tenants. This is the power of putting first things first every week. These Quadrant 1 and Quadrant 3 things that creep into your schedule won't overpower the more significant Quadrant 2 things. Once you've scheduled your big rocks for each week, then each day you can zoom in and prioritize your daily tasks and appointments. You see, with the right process and the right tools for weekly planning, literally, you can organize and execute every week of your life around your deepest Quadrant 2 priorities. You will spend your time on those things that matter most, never losing that big picture perspective that makes your life so rich and so meaningful.
So, what essentially it is saying is, create magic every week. List your goals along with the time frame in which you want to achieve them. List smaller actions that lead to this goal. Stuff that would be achievable within a month or a week. And then block time every week for these actions. And review the progress monthly, quarterly, on a regular basis. Okay. Basically, habit 3 over there is about having the integrity to execute on your priorities. So, are we willing to do this? So we have some semblance of a life mission statement now. This is by no means final. I would want you to spend some more time with it, refining it. My first mission statement was a few sentences. The second one reduced to 1 or 2, and my present mission statement is just 7 words, and they are arranged like a crossword. I've put that crossword kind of a stuff on a background, painting kind of a background. I framed it and it is there on my desk. So if you come to my office, you will look around and you will see acha kuch painting lagi hui hai. For you, that's simply a painting. But for me, on that painting are embossed those words that are my mission statement. And when I see that, it inspires me to do things that really value to me, that are really valuable for me. So I would say spend some time to refine your mission statement. And as so many of us said in the beginning itself, we would need to refine it and review it and redo this exercise on a very regular basis. Now that regular basis could be 2 years, could be 1 year, could be longer, could be shorter, depending on what kind of changes we have experienced in our lives. But it is important that we review and redo this life mission exercise again when some changes have happened. Okay. So what is more important, or what is also very important, is that we take care of all the 4 dimensions of life when we look at the life mission statement: the body, the mind, the heart, and the spirit. So for body, that is your physical existence. Assume that you had a heart attack last week. So what kind of life would you live? Would you exercise daily now? Would you eat healthy food? So define your goals, weekly goals. All these 4 dimensions should appear in your life. For body, imagine you had a heart attack or a life-threatening situation that you faced just recently. How would you change your physical routine? Change that. Do that now. For the brain, for the mind, the intellectual capability, imagine, and this is so true for so many of us over here, imagine that the half-life of whatever you know in your profession is just 2 years. We understand the meaning of half-life. We have studied about radioactive way back in school. Radioactivity means that, half-life means that half of what I know has become obsolete 2 years down the line. So if that is the case, how would you prepare yourself for the future? How would you keep your brain active and your role relevant in whichever organization, in whatever place you are? For your heart, imagine that whoever you're talking about or whoever you're talking to, that person can listen to whatever you talked about that. So if whatever you're speaking about any other person, that person is able to listen to, what would you speak? So whenever you speak anything about anyone, imagine that this person is actually there in front of you listening to you. Would you behave differently? Would you live your life differently? Do that. And for the spirit, that is your inner well-being. Try to go within on a regular basis. You may want to meditate. Imagine that you have a direct connection, whatever you do, you have a direct connection with whoever you consider as God, whoever you consider as creator, even if that is you. How would you live your life then? How would you contribute to other people's life then? What are you doing to go within yourself on a regular basis? What can you add on a regular basis? So, in fact, regularity is the key. We have to take care of all these 4 dimensions: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual simultaneously on a regular basis. That brings me to the end of this session. I would request you to please fill the post survey. The post survey is in 2 parts. The first part is feedback for me. Okay. And as you close that feedback, you will be taken to the second part, which is the same questions that I asked you in the pre-survey. So you simply answer those questions, and there could be an interesting surprise waiting for you sometime later. Okay, so once you've filled both the surveys, I would like to tell you about more resources that you can use for your personal growth. There are these set of books: 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Highly Effective Teenagers, Highly Effective, or not highly effective, actually Happy Kids, Highly Effective Families, and so on. So you can read these books. They are wonderful resources. They actually help us be more effective. So I would say start with the people or teenagers, whichever category you are in. Start with that book and then go to families or the other in the league. If you have not already done, I would say Inner Engineering Online is a very, very powerful program. It is very transformational. I have seen people change, not just physically, like it touches you in all the 4 dimensions. A few of our colleagues who are over here in this meeting have been wondering, how to, in Habit 1, for example, there is this concept of creating a space between action or what happens to you and how you respond to it, and then choosing your response. Habit 1 is in fact one of the most powerful habits. Habit 2 comes second, and then habit 3. And it's not by chance that Stephen has listed them in that order, because they have that kind of an impact. So habit 1 is really, really transformational. So people have been asking, how do we do it? How do we bring about that space? How do we create that space? And this inner engineering program is very, very powerful, and it can help you do that. Then when I said, if you can do some meditations, create a happy life for yourself, there are these Chit Shakti meditations, which are available online on YouTube. They are very powerful. You can use them. And they are 15-20 minute meditations, and they can be done anywhere, in fact. Just a space where you can relax, sit and relax, or just lie down. The sitting here, lie down nahi hai itna. Sit and relax. You need a backrest there. So these are things which can be very powerful, can be very transformational for you, and you can use these resources. If you want to know more about more resources, or about 7 habits, or are interested in more such sessions or programs, I will anyway, if I conduct anything, I will let you know, and I will bombard you with more information. Even this.
Anuj, Amit here. However, no questions, but congratulations. It was damn good, and these 2 hours really went in with a very deep thought inside ours, as we generally don't get time in our day routine situations, and don't get time to review our missions at times, what we had said during while we started our career at times, right? And used to really think that what we gonna do and what we achieve in our life when we were young, but at the mid-age, we generally tend to forget and get diversified into various things because of situations and circumstances. So,
in fact, mid-age se yaad aaya, Amit, there is another friend of mine, Amit Mattu. He has a program called Take Two. It is for people like you and me, who are touching that age of 35, 40, 45, where we start to think, yaar, ab kya? And Take Two is about what is the next that you want to take up in your life. It's a very powerful program. If you want, I can share the details of that program with you.
Yeah, do share. But fantastic, yeah. It was very insightful, and thank you so much for bringing this up again. And
thank you, Amit.
My daughter enjoyed it. How I know she was too small for this, but at least she noted down each and every question and she answered it. And I'm sure she has closed on the book. She's not showcasing it to me, but I'm sure she would have got a great insight.
Yeah, you should not look into it. It's her private book.
Yeah, you may say thank you.
So thank you all of you for joining in. Yes, Shobha, you're saying something.
Hey, hi Anuj, thank you. I'm really glad I joined it and thoroughly enjoyed going through this again. So looking forward to more sessions. And you mentioned you are going to host another session for the kids. I would be very much interested in following.
Yeah, definitely. I will keep you posted on that. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining in.
Sure,
If there are any questions, please unmute and ask. Otherwise, thank you. Thanks a lot. It was wonderful having you here. And I hope I could add.
Thanks, Anuj. All the best.